All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Welcome back. Counsel, please stipulate to the return of our jurors.
Stipulate to the presence of jury, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, when we recessed, Officer Frolish was on the stand, and the state was conducting its direct examination of Officer Frolish. In order to accommodate certain scheduling matters and other in administrative affairs, we are at this time going to interrupt and suspend the testimony of Officer Frolish with the intent that Officer Frolish will take the stand at a later time to complete his direct examination and any other examinations so desired as a result of that direct examination. At this point in time, the state will be calling an additional or their next witness to the stand, okay? So I didn't want there to be confusion on your part when you saw a different witness coming to the stand and taking the stand. Please don't speculate as to why we're interrupting Mr. Frolish's testimony. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything that is of your concern, and we will get back to Officer Frolish accordingly, okay? Thank you. Counsel?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state will call Brian Hart to the stand.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or not penalty of perjury.
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name.
You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who you're currently employed by?
Yes, I'm employed by the FBI right now.
And what are your current responsibilities?
I'm a field photographer for the FBI, so I go out to crime scenes. I'm a forensic photographer. I do search warrants and evidentiary photography.
And how long have you been doing that for?
For 3.5 years.
Now, I want to direct your attention to December 2nd of 2019. Were you employed by the FBI back then?
I was not.
Who were you employed by?
I was employed by the Ansonia Police Department.
And in what capacity were you employed by the Ansonia Police Department back on December 2nd of 2019?
I was employed as a detective at the Ansonia Police Department.
And did you have to go through any training to become an Ansonia police officer and subsequently a detective?
Yes, I have.
Can you please just briefly explain to the jury what you had to do in order to become an Ansonia police detective?
Sure. Initial training, as any officer will go through, is the police academy. Then as time went on, I went through basic crime scene schools. I went through ballistic training, went through a lot of different types of investigative work to include eventually becoming an Internet Crimes Against Children investigator, serving hundreds of search warrants on crimes having to do with cellular technologies, with different electronics components to them, technology-related stuff. I also have a bachelor's degree in law enforcement administration with a minor concentration in international security.
Now, up to that point in 2019, how long were you working? Had you been working for the Ansonia Police Department?
For over 22 years.
Now, on that day, were you working on that day? What was your responsibilities that particular day?
So I had been working earlier in that day. My shift had ended and I had gone home.
Okay. Now, was there an occasion where you were called to respond back to the PD?
Yes, there was.
Can you please briefly describe the circumstances surrounding that?
Yes, I was contacted by my detective sergeant at that time via phone. I was a little later in the evening, and I was told that there was a homicide, that we had to respond back into work to start investigating.
And when you reported back to the PD, what were your responsibilities as you understood them at that point?
So my initial responsibility, understanding that we had a homicide scene to investigate, was to start drafting a search warrant for the address of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue in Ansonia, Connecticut.
And did you, in fact, draft that search warrant?
I did. I started initially at that time. I wasn't finished until a little bit later in the evening.
Okay. what else did you do in connection with, withdrawn? So what address was the search warrant for?
The initial search warrant was for 6.5 Myrtle Avenue in Ansonia.
And did you do any other search warrants in connection to this investigation?
Can I clarify?
Sure.
As a whole?
Sure.
Yes, I did.
Okay, how many did you do?
More than I can count, probably upwards of 20 to 30 search warrants.
Now, based on what you knew at the time, was the 6.5 Myrtle Ave search warrant the only one that you did on that particular day?
On that particular evening, the 6.5 Myrtle Avenue search warrant was the one that I began on.
Okay. The circumstances as you understood them on December 2nd of 2019, was there anything else that you did in connection to the decedent in this case?
Yes, we were aware that the known victim in the case, or who was believed to be known the victim in the case.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, again, I'll strike the word victim. If you're referring to the decedent, let's keep it to the decedent or the name of the person, which is Christine Holloway.
I understand, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So as we understood it at that time, the decedent, Christine Holloway, was also in the presence of a young female, 1 year old, that was missing at that time.
Okay. And in connection to Ms. Holloway, were there any steps taken by you to locate anything connected to Ms. Holloway?
Yes, I initiated exigent circumstances request to start to locate Ms. Holloway's phone.
What was the purpose of executing an exigent circumstance request?
At that time, we did not know where the child, Vanessa Morales, was. She was believed to be in danger, and
Objection,
we
Your
were on.
Honor.
Well, what
It's
is the
not
basis?
responsive to the question.
All right, so the question was, why were you executing an exigent circumstances request? I believe it is in response if that's the basis for the request.
Exigent.
All right, overruled.
You can answer.
Okay. Shall I repeat my answer, or
Please.
just continue?
You could just continue.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So the exigent circumstances request was in response to the child was missing and believed to be endangered. We did not know what state she was in, and we did not know where she was located. So in order to do that, we had information from previous investigators who spoke to the fact that they had been trying to get in touch with Christine Holloway and with her phone, and that her phone was going straight through to voicemail. So that being the case, I initiated an exigent circumstance request with her phone carrier, which was Verizon, in order to locate the last known locations of her phone in order to try to locate Vanessa.
And in relation to that, were you able to determine the last known location of Ms. Holloway's phone?
When I got in touch with Verizon and initiated the request, they were able to tell us that the phone was pinging in specific locations further up in Naugatuck.
Now, in addition to the exigent circumstance request withdrawn, the exigent circumstance request, was that a request just done, requested on December 2nd of 2019?
Initially, yes.
At any point, was that expanded in any way?
Yes, it was.
And can you please explain why it was expanded?
Yes, as we continued the exigent circumstances request, I had been asking Verizon for real-time, what we would call pings, which are location information for where the phone was located. And at that time, going into the 2 o'clock, 2:30 time frame in the morning, they were able to give us specific locations that they were able to say that the phone was located at. Following that, we began to receive less and less information from the phone, indicating that the phone's battery may have been exhausted. So what we did from there was then call back Verizon to give another exigent circumstance request to ask for the previous days, several days, going all the way back to Friday the 29th, I believe, in order to get more precise location information as to where the phone was.
And I'm going to show you just briefly say it's 161, page 24. You just talked about can you see that, Mr. Hart?
Yeah, that's fine now that you magnified it. Thank you.
So again, you mentioned the phone pinging in the area of Naugatuck. Is this the general area of where you determined the phone was pinging at or around the time of the initial exigent circumstance request?
Yes.
Okay. And after you expanded your exigent circumstance request, were you able to ever locate where this Christine's phone was?
We were not able to locate exactly where the phone was.
Okay. With regards to withdrawn, did you ever make any other, ever apply for any other search and seizure warrants as it relates to Christine Holloway's phone?
I did.
Can you please explain?
Yes, I applied for a search warrant for Verizon to basically expand the scope of the information that we were seeking and the time frame itself with Verizon in order to get call detail records and other subscriber information to ascertain the location and other evidence as may be pertaining to the case.
And did you in fact receive those documents from Verizon?
I did.
And when you received those documents from Verizon, what did you do with them?
I transferred them to FBI CAS, which is the Cellular Analysis Survey Team, in order to further evaluate the results.
And was there a specific agent you were working with back in 2019 that you sent these records to?
Yes, his name was Jim Wines, Special Agent.
And do you know if Mr. Wines is still employed with the FBI?
He is not still employed with the FBI. He's retired.
Now, in relation to, is Christine's cell phone the only cell phone you did an exigent circumstance request for?
No, it is not.
Who else's phone did you do an exigent circumstance request for?
I also did an exigent circumstance request for Jose Morales.
Okay, and why did you do that?
Because he was the last known person at that point to have any information as to the whereabouts of Christine or Vanessa.
And in relation to Mr. Morales' phone, did you do any search and seizure warrants in relation to any call detail records for his phone?
Yes, I did.
And did you receive those records?
I did.
And when you received those records, what did you do with those records?
I also transferred them to Jim Wines of the FBI of the CAS team.
Now, in addition to doing the search and seizure warrants for the phones, were you aware whether or not Ansonia Police Department was able to seize any evidence from Mr. Morales' person?
Yes.
Okay, and what in particular?
They were able to seize an iPhone 6, a gray iPhone 6 from his person.
In fact, were you present during the initial seizure of evidence on December 3rd of 2019?
Yes, I was present for a portion of that seizure.
And there were other items that were seized that day?
Yes, there were.
So tell me a little bit about the iPhone 6. Did you do a search and seizure warrant to analyze the contents of that phone?
I did.
Okay. And was that search and seizure warrant executed on that phone?
Yes, it was.
And tell us, if you can, what, if anything, were you able to glean from the analysis of that phone?
Well, the information that we're able to take from the analysis of that phone, once the information was given back to us, was processed by the FBI, and then reports were given back to us at that point. And every phone has a specific MAC address when we talk about cellular types of technology. So this phone's particular Wi-Fi MAC address had reached back to a signal called Frontier 1312. All the way back to the date of the 29th of November.
Okay. And with regards to this particular iPhone 6, do you know whether or not it also had cell phone service at the time?
That phone did not have cell phone service.
Okay. So it was strictly a Wi-Fi phone?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, with regards to the Frontier 1312 you just mentioned, what do you mean by, what does that mean?
Okay. So, if I may expand?
Sure.
All right. So I also did search warrants for a router that was located at the house of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue in two respects, one for the physical device itself and one for the subscriber information related to that device.
And in relation to those search warrants, when they were executed, what were you able to find out with regards to that specific router and subscriber information?
Okay. So the specific router, first of all, And when I say router, I also may use the term modem. I like to use them interchangeably. If I need to clarify, please let me know. The modem, it's one device with two separate functions. The modem itself had been communicating over the same IP address back to Frontier over the course of the last over a year, back into 2018. That was the first thing. Second thing was that the router itself was registered to Jose Morales with a billing address of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue, Ansonia, Connecticut.
And in relation to the iPhone 6, were you able to determine if that iPhone was in proximity to that router at all during the period of 11/29 to 12/2 of 2019?
Yes, we were able to determine that due to the iPhone's internal records, the iPhone's internal records said that it had connected, auto-connected to the Frontier Wi-Fi of 1312 that was associated with that. And we were able to actually verify that that was the same phone by taking the Wi-Fi MAC address that the router logs had under the name of Jose's iPhone, and that router log MAC address matched the iPhone 6 that we seized from the person of Jose Morales on 12/3 in the early morning.
Okay, so in order for that iPhone to connect to the Wi-Fi, educate us just quickly about Wi-Fi. Does it have to be close, far away? How close do you have to be to the router to connect?
Well, there are two different bands on this particular router, and there are several different technologies out there. But on this particular router, there's a band that's a 2.4 gigahertz band, and there is a 5 gigahertz band. Each was named for which that they sat on. So the Frontier 1312 gigahertz band on 2.4 was just Frontier 1312, and the 5 gigahertz band was Frontier 1312_5. So phones need to be in proximity. A cellular device, an internet-capable device, needs to be in proximity of a device like a router in order to obtain a Wi-Fi address and communicate with it in order to obtain an internet connection.
Do you know whether or not the Wi-Fi router at 6.5 Myrtle Ave was password protected?
Yes, it was.
And so if the iPhone 6 was in proximity to the Wi-Fi and it auto-connected, as you said, it would have had a password protection or a password already saved in the device itself in order to connect?
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
If the iPhone 6 was in close proximity to the router that was located at 6.5 Myrtle Ave, in order for it to auto-connect, it would have had to have the password already in the device, correct?
That is correct.
Now, in relation to withdrawn, earlier in the investigation, did you have an occasion to respond to 6.5 Myrtle Ave to assist other Ansonia PD and Connecticut State Police in relation to this particular investigation?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and can you please just briefly describe to the jury what you did when you responded to 6.5 Myrtle Ave?
Yes. We had re-entered 6.5 Myrtle Avenue after Christine Holloway was initially found deceased, and we were unable to locate Vanessa. At that point, we went in under exigent circumstances, myself and one other officer. We had donned protective footwear in order to cover our boots. We had donned gloves to make sure that we kept the crime scene safe and evidence intact. Went in searching for Vanessa in places that the original patrol officers, when they went into, may not have looked. So we did a little bit more of a thorough search and looking in spaces where a child of that size may be. And in doing so, I recall passing across a couple different items in plain view in the house.
Now, one item in particular that comes to mind to you is what?
A diaper bag.
And what about that diaper bag kind of made it stick out to you, and why?
The diaper bag was very stuck out to me because there were so many things in the diaper bag that a child would need for daily care. And my question in my head became, if the diaper bag is here, then where is Vanessa?
And in particular, do you know whether or not items were seized subsequently or in the investigation into this homicide, whether or not something came to mind from that diaper bag in particular?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that?
I recall seeing a pink Croc inside the diaper bag.
Hey, Counselor.
Just tell me what numbers. 172, 173, 174, 175. Your Honor, I've seen the exhibits that have marked 172 through 175 previously. I have no objection to their introduction as full exhibits.
Your Honor, wish to see them?
These are 172 through 175.
Yes, sir.
All right, now with no objections, court will accept into evidence dates 172 through 175 full. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Oh, thanks. Can you just tell us which one you put out? Sure. Thanks.
Mr. Hart, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 172. That's been marked as a full exhibit. Do you recognize 172?
I do.
And what is 172?
172 is a photograph that I took of an overall picture of the diaper bag, its contents, with the pink Croc that I had observed earlier, a little right of center in the picture.
Is this the Croc that you were referring to in your testimony just moments ago?
Yes, it was.
Showing you 173. Is this the same pink Croc that you're referring to in your testimony? Just a closer up picture?
Yes, it is a closer up picture of the same pink Croc that I was referring to earlier.
Now, what stuck out to you about this pink Croc? Why did the pink Croc kind of jog your memory with regards to your initial search into 6.5 Myrtle Ave?
Well, I recalled seeing it during my initial search, and it did stick out to me as a sole shoe, and I mean that by singular. But later on December 5th, the Connecticut State Police processed a crime scene in Hamden where a similar pink Croc was found, and that was a shoe that I believe this to be the sister shoe to, if you will, presumably the matching pair.
I'm going to show you 174. Now, did you actually seize this Croc at a later date from 6.5 Myrtle Ave?
Yes, I did.
Is this the packaging that you used to seize this Croc?
Are you able to zoom in on the evidence label? Yes, if you look down on the bottom part of the evidence label, you will see that it is seized by Hart, Brian.
Finally, were you able to, subsequent in this investigation, were you able to ever go to the Ansonia Police Department and review this Croc that's the subject of states 172, 3, and 4, next to the other Croc that you say was seized by the Connecticut State Police?
Yes, it was.
I'll show you 175. Can you tell us what 175 is?
175 is a picture on the left-hand side, which is camera left, of the Croc that I seized, and the one on the right, which appears to be the matching Croc, was the Croc that was seized from the Hamden crime scene by Connecticut State Police.
Now, one moment, Your Honor, please.
Sure. Of the green iPad, sure. 176.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness? I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 176 for identification purposes. Do you recognize 176?
Yes, I do.
And what is 176?
176 is an iPad with a green-colored case.
Is this the green colored iPad that was analyzed by yourself in relation to this investigation?
Yes, it was.
Is this the iPad that seems to be seized by the Ansonia Police Department from 105 First Ave on a prior occasion?
Yes, it does.
The state would offer this as a full exhibit at this time,
No
Your Honor?
objection, Your Honor.
Okay, court will accept into evidence as full, states 176, no objection, thank you.
Can you see that, Mr. Hart?
I can, thank you.
Now, in relation to this case, you just testified that you recognize this particular exhibit. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what, if anything, you did in relation to this case with regards to this exhibit?
Yes, I completed a search warrant on this particular exhibit, and that search warrant, as well as the device itself, were given to the FBI for forensic download.
And do you know, in fact, whether or not the forensic download was successful?
Yes, I do.
And what, if anything, was gleaned from the forensic download in relation to this particular exhibit?
Amongst other things, thing that sticks out in my mind with this is a particular string of text messages that were found between the username of Isaac Morales 100 and the name of Christine in the device itself.
And did you have information at that time as to whether or not the defendant utilized this particular iPad?
Yes, I had been told that he utilized the iPad as often as his son Isaac, and had utilized it as often as anyone, excuse me, as early, I should say, as the weekend that we were responding to that case.
Can I just have 1 second? There's multiple pages. to
Yes,
this.
yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. This starts on 1/11/14. 15 to 6, 7 pages through 11/29/2019. Your Honor, I've not had an opportunity to review what's been marked now as Exhibit 177. I have no objection to being entered as a full exhibit.
Okay. Thank you. Court will accept into evidence, states 177, full, no objection.
All right, I'm going to show you, it's been marked as State's Exhibit 177 in relation to page 3, in relation to one of the forensic parts of the forensic extraction from the green iPad. Can you tell us, there's a bunch of things on this document where it says Isaac Morales, 100 iCloud.com, delivered, date. Can you please explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what this means?
As far as the delivered date,
Yeah.
okay. When we're looking at the red date, as you can see a little bit further up on the screen compared to the delivered date, red, and so on, and then a date further down that doesn't have any indicator. Based on the way iPads work, or iMessage, or any text messages that are associated with Apple and iCloud, what it's doing is it's actually giving us an indication from the device itself at what time the action occurred. So if it's saying delivered, that's exactly what happened. The message was delivered to the recipient, and when we look down one more and see that it says that it's read, that means that it was read by the person who is in possession of the device at that time. So everything we're looking at right now is from the viewpoint of the person who was in possession of the iPad.
So can you please explain where there's this colloquy between Christine and Isaac Morales, 100 at iCloud.com, where it says, "Where are you? Delivered at 11/20/2019, 8:53:09 p.m. UTC -5." Can you explain? Is that when it was delivered? Is that real time? Is that UTC time?
Okay, so a couple parts to your question, if I may address them one at a time. As you're looking at this particular one where you were referring to the one where it says, "Where are you?" Correct?
Yes, for example.
Okay, as an example. So this was delivered from Isaac Morales 100 at iCloud.com on 11/20/2019 at 8:53 p.m. and 9 seconds, our time, Eastern time. Now, where you see UTC -5, that is because the device itself specifically is already set to Eastern time. And Eastern time at that time of the day sits 5 hours behind universal time coordinated, as it were, or universal coordinated time.
So if I wanted to know what the UTC time on this particular text chain, I'd have to add 5 hours?
No, you're correct. If you're looking for UTC time, you would have to add an additional 5 hours to this time.
Now, this particular chain, text chain, you read these text chains, this text chain?
Yes, I did.
And anything else stick out to you in relation to the back and forth between the email address associated with Isaac Morales and Christine Holloway?
Yes, the text messages themselves contained intimate information and financial information that seemingly would be appropriate for two people who are in a relationship as opposed to someone who was not in a relationship talking with a child.
And again, just one more example of with regards to on 11/25 or 11/25 2019 at 11:14:30. Is that a message there that was sent to Christine by Isaac Morales 100 at iCloud.com?
Can you repeat the time so I can follow you, please?
So it's two from the top. So I'm going to point to it right here.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yes,
Is that a message that was sent to Christine at 11:14 a.m. by this email address?
that is correct.
And the subsequent one underneath, again, was this sent about 2 minutes later on that same day?
Yes, it was.
So this message here, where it says, once the car warms up, going to stop and shop, then home, are we to believe that where it says read on 11/27/2019 at 11:01, that was read by the recipient or the person that had the iPad?
Correct.
Okay, so we don't know when that particular text message was sent from Christine to Isaac Morales, right?
That is correct.
Now, in relation to some of the other search warrants that you did you have an occasion to execute any search and seizure warrants with regards to the defendant and his maybe social media?
Yes, I did.
And what in particular did you do with regards to his social media?
I did search warrants on the Facebook accounts for Jose Morales' social media accounts.
Did you, in fact, when you did those search and seizure warrants, were you able to receive any information from Facebook with regards to that?
Yes, I received over 400 pages of information, responded to the search warrant.
178 Honor. I've had an opportunity to review exhibit number 178, the Facebook records. I've reviewed them, and I have no objection to their introduction as a full exhibit.
Okay, how many pages is the exhibit?
There's 8 pages. I'm not introducing all 400 and something like that.
Okay, so 8 pages of exhibit 178. Okay, great, thank you. All right, so the court will accept into evidence as full, no objection, 178 on behalf of the state, and I believe it's 8 pages. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hart, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 178. It's now a full exhibit. This appeared to be page 1, or the certification page for the Facebook documents that you were able to obtain from Facebook.
Yes.
Now, I want to direct your attention to actually page 1. That was the certificate page. Here's page 1. Can you tell us the significance of this particular page here?
Yes, so amongst other things, what this does is actually verifies that the registered email for the account was josemorales00@yahoo.com.
So this was, in fact, the Facebook page belonging to Jose.
That is correct.
Were you able to verify whether or not that particular email address was associated with the iPhone that you talked about earlier?
Yes, I was.
Directing your attention to page 3. I'm going to direct your attention to this cell phone number right here. Were you able to determine what, if anything, what, if any, significance that cell phone was in relation to this particular investigation?
Yes, the number 1-203-809-2849, as it shows here on these records, is the same phone number that I did a search warrant for through T-Mobile earlier on that is connected to Jose Morales.
I'm going to direct your attention to page 5. And you remember before when you were talking about the wireless router at 6.5 Myrtle Ave? I want to direct your attention to this particular IP address here, 32.20976-230. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
What's the significance of that IP address?
The significance of that IP address is that is the IP address registered through Frontier to the modem at 6.5 Myrtle Avenue, and that specific connection time is showing as 15:52 and 40 seconds UTC. So if we do the math as I had been explaining before, but I can explain again if necessary, and subtract 5 hours for the time frame of UTC to change it into Eastern time, this is showing that this this Facebook account accessed Facebook through this IP address connected to the address of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue and the modem/router that was there, and actually was last seen 15:52, which would be 10:52 a.m., shortly before the arrival of first officers to check on the welfare of Christine.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. The last time Facebook was accessed through this IP address was 10:52:40.
Guess that is the last time that the Facebook server saw this phone, or this account connected to their servers.
I'll just direct your attention briefly to page 13. Again, page 13 indicating the Facebook account holder in a relationship with somebody at this when this was created.
Yes, when this production was created, it showed that the Facebook account holder was in a relationship with Christine Holloway with a unique user identification number next to that which corresponds with the Facebook profile of Christine Holloway, the decedent, and an anniversary date of 5/30 of 2016.
Yes.
Direct your attention to page 32 of the Facebook records. See up there where it says about me? What does that mean, about me, with regards to the Facebook?
A person can input anything they'd like to describe themselves on their Facebook account.
So, in these particular records, this indicates that this person plans all the way to the end. The ending is everything to him. Right?
Yes.
Page 33. I want to direct your attention. This right here, 12/1/2019. Can you tell us what this means here? 12/1/2019 at 2353 56 UTC. Jose Morales and Eduardo Quinones are now friends. Can you tell us what that means?
Yeah, so if we do the time conversion, as I had spoke about before, and subtract 5 hours away from this in order to bring it into Eastern time, we're looking at what would be 5 hours earlier in the day on December 1st of 2019, at which time Jose Morales accepted a friend's request from the user ID of Eduardo Quinones.
Now, my math isn't that good, but does that mean at 7:53 p.m. on 12/1/2019, he accepted a friend request from Mr. Quinones?
That is correct.
Finally, page 56, directing your attention to this particular thread here, where it says 12/3/2019 at 58:29 UTC. Christine missed your video chat. Can you just tell us what that means in relation to, what's the actual time? What does that mean in Facebook call?
Yeah, so if we subtract again 5 hours off of the, what would be 12:58 a.m., 00:58 a.m. and 29 seconds. If we subtract 5 hours, we're looking at 7:58 p.m. on December 2nd of 2019, indicating that Christine's Facebook ID had missed a video chat from Jose Morales' ID.
Okay. So through the messenger, Mr. Morales would have video chatted with Christine Holloway's Facebook.
You would have sent a video chat, correct?
Let's have one moment, Your Honor, please. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Attorney Gow, Cross.
How are you?
How are you?
Very good. Should I refer to you as Detective Hart, or should I refer to you as Special Agent Hart?
I am not a special agent, sir, so however you prefer.
Okay. I'm going to refer to you, and I don't mean to be offensive, as Detective Hart, because you were a detective for a long time in the Ansonia Police Department, correct?
That would be fine, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Detective Hart, I went through all the police reports, and you did a ton of work in this investigation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I want to, we're going to go back to everything that Attorney Durso just entered into evidence with you, but I want to start off just chronologically in regard to what the police reports indicate, to see if that's consistent with your recollection of your involvement in regard to the investigation regarding the death of Christine Holloway. okay?
Okay.
All right, so on Tuesday, 12/3, was that your first involvement in this matter?
It was not.
Okay, I want you to tell the jury what your first involvement was.
I responded to work on Monday, 12/2, having been called in.
Yeah, okay, and that was to the Ansonia Police Department, is that correct? And you were a member of the Detective Bureau? I'm sorry, you have to answer out loud.
I was just waiting for you to finish your question.
Okay,
Yes, that is correct.
okay, so you were called in to the Ansonia Police Department, and approximately what time did you get to the Ansonia Police Department on Monday?
I don't recall the exact time, but I do
Approximate
recall that there was a snowstorm, and I probably got there somewhere between 9:30 and 10 o'clock at night.
Okay. Was there somebody assigned as a lead investigator or a supervisory investigator at that time, sir?
Yes,
Who was that?
I reported to Detective Sergeant James Frolish.
Okay, terrific. And you had other detectives in the DB, in the Detective Bureau at Ansonia at that time, correct?
That is correct.
Right, and I know at least one of the detectives was out on a medical leave, and another detective was assigned to a task force. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And so how many, besides Detective Sergeant Frolish and yourself, how many other detectives were involved in the investigation at that very early stage?
Can I go by name?
Sure.
Okay. Detective Sergeant Frolish, myself, Detective Esposito, and Detective Tresser.
Okay. And how about Detective Adcox? Do you recall him?
Yes, I apologize. Detective Adcox as
No, that's
well.
okay.
Yes.
Hey, it's 5 years ago. It's okay. So you go to the Ansonia PD, and then what happens next for you? What's your involvement next, sir?
My initial involvement, as I said, was to start drafting a search warrant for the premises at 6.5 Myrtle Avenue.
Okay, and that was because you wanted to have lawful authority to go into the premises, correct?
That is correct.
Right, the premises had already been entered into by officers from the Ansonia Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Right, okay, and then you wanted to go to a neutral magistrate to go ahead and get permission to re-enter the location at 6.5 Myrtle, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you said you started to do the search warrant. Were you called away before you were able to complete that search warrant, sir?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and where'd you go?
I went back to the residence at 6.5 Myrtle Avenue.
Okay, and you told us that you entered the property at that time,
Yes, I did.
correct? Okay, and you were only there for a short period of time, I take it?
Correct.
Okay, and then you exited and secured the premises, correct?
Yes,
Nobody could get into 6.5 Myrtle at that time, correct?
that is correct.
All right, great. And then did you return to the Ansonia PD at that point?
I don't recall.
Okay, well, you told us that you started to prepare a search and seizure warrant. Did you complete the application for the search and seizure warrant?
I did.
Okay, and when did you do that, sir?
That would have been later on in the day on now going into December 3rd,
Okay, which was the Tuesday, is that correct?
to the best of my recollection.
Okay, so you told us that you had contacted Verizon to do an emergency situation disclosure, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and just tell us what the emergency situation disclosure is.
Emergency situation disclosure is the exigent circumstance that I explained to you earlier when we are operating under emergency authority to care for somebody's well-being and making sure that no one is hurt. So it is one of the exceptions to the search warrant rule, allowing us to enter into a premise or search a thing in order to check on the welfare of an individual, in this particular case, a child.
Okay. So you submitted to to Verizon, for example, in this case, and then you have to wait for a response from them. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And because it is an emergency situation, there's urgency to it, and you request that information come as soon as possible to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And that happened in this case, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, now, I want to call your attention to the 3rd, December 3rd, which was that Tuesday. Did you also attend an interview with Jose Morales on December 3rd in the early morning hours at the Ansonia Police Department?
I briefly attended a portion of the interview. I stepped in when I was called in there.
Okay, why don't we do it this way? Why don't you just tell us what you did when you were called into the interview?
Okay. I was called into the interview room to seize certain items from Jose Morales by the 2 detectives that were in there at the time.
And could you just identify the 2 detectives?
They were Detective Stephen Adcox and Detective Sergeant Jim Frolish.
Okay. And Detective Sergeant Frolish was there, and I just want to walk through this slowly and see if I have it correctly. You came in because Morales was there voluntarily, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And he had requested to leave, correct?
I do not know.
That's fine. But when you came in, you were chartered to go ahead and take items of his clothing, his cell phones, and his shoes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And how did you do that?
They were given to me.
Okay. You went into the interview room, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And Adcox and Frolish were there, correct?
Correct.
Right. And Morales, in your presence, was told he wasn't free to leave until he went ahead and provided the Ansonia Police Department with his clothing and his cell phones. And there was an issue with his shoes because it was snowing outside. Is that fair?
That is unfair.
Okay. What's incorrect about that?
You told me that he wasn't free to leave. I was not privy to any part of that conversation.
You weren't part and parcel of any of that?
I do not recall those words being used
Okay.
that you used.
Okay. Well, was in your presence, and you may not have been there, but was Morales instructed that he had to go ahead and give his clothing and his shoes and his cell phones prior to returning to 105 First Avenue?
That also is only partially to my knowledge.
Okay. I'm not trying to trick you. What do you mean partially to your knowledge?
You used the words before he was able to leave, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I do not recall those words being used. I do know that he was asked to give the items that you discussed, but you're talking about voluntariness.
Detective Hart, Morales couldn't walk out of the Ansonia Police Department at 4:35 or 5 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday the 3rd, absent providing his cell phone and his clothes to the officers. Is that fair?
I don't know that that's fair. He was free to leave at any time that he wished, from my understanding. But again, I was not part of that interview.
I don't want to mince words with you. He was free to leave as long as he provided his clothes and his cell phone. Is that fair?
Objection at this point has been asked and answered.
I don't think it has.
I'll allow it. Overruled.
If you recall.
Okay, I was not part of the interview process. I was asked to come down there to seize items that were in his possession, and that is all I know about this situation.
Okay, right. So you came in to go ahead and inventory the items that were taken from Morales. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have any conversations with Morales at that point?
I don't recall.
Okay, all right. And then you had to go ahead and catalog those items for evidentiary purposes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And then I take it that you did not go ahead and transport Morales back to New Haven after you had inventoried the items that were seized from him.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Was that the end of your involvement with Mr. Morales on that morning?
To the best of my recollection, yes.
Oh, all right, okay. We're going to move on. We're going to move on from there, okay? Now, it looks like you went ahead and you interviewed a witness named Justin Gasso in Weston, Connecticut on that Tuesday as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And who did you do that interview with?
Detective Tresser.
Okay. And that was for information that you wanted to obtain from Mr. Gasso regarding his observations. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when was that done on that Tuesday? Because you had started early in the morning. When was that done?
I don't recall the exact time. Later at night.
Okay. Later at night.
Yes.
Okay. And then can I go to the next day, all right, which is the 4th, which is Wednesday the 4th? Okay, just orient you there. Is that the time that you went back to 6.5 Myrtle to obtain the information on the modem, the wireless router? Is that correct?
I would have to refresh my recollection with my report, but if that is what my report indicates, then that is correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
If I show you your report, would that help refresh your recollection, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Take your time.
Thanks. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. Was it on the 4th that you returned to 6.5 Myrtle Avenue to obtain the information that you discussed previously regarding the modem and the wireless router?
That is when I observed the router.
Okay, all right. And I'm only talking to you about the 4th now, okay?
Yep,
All right.
that's why I'm trying to.
Yeah, okay. Why don't you just tell us what you did on the 4th?
Well, let's ask him if it refreshes his recollection and then take the document he carried.
Oh, yep, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need that document to refresh your recollection?
If you wouldn't mind for another moment.
Well, he can't read from the document, so if you ask the question, he can refer to the document. Why don't you take time to read the document and then let the attorney know if it refreshes your recollection, then hand it up.
Okay,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, just for clarification, is this a separate copy for your own records
Yes,
of the same report?
yes.
Okay. My recollection is refreshed, but I may need to refer to it later on if you have other questions.
Okay, that's
May I
fine.
just approach,
Yes,
Your Honor?
yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Detective, I have all your reports, so if you need to refresh your recollection, I know it's been a while, just let me know and I'll give you the report. Okay. Now you've had an opportunity to have your recollection refreshed based on your report. And do you recall what you did at 6.5 Myrtle?
Yes, I entered the residence under the existing search and seizure warrant and photographed the modem as it was laying on the table.
Okay. And that was important to the investigation, was it not?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. The information contained on the modem that you testified to on direct examination, you had to locate it first, correct?
yes,
Right, and then you would have gone ahead and you would have analyzed the modem or other devices for evidentiary purposes. Is that fair?
that's fair.
Okay, so you recall going in and you recall photographing the modem. Is that correct?
Yes,
And that was located in the living room, correct?
to the best of my recollection, yes.
Okay. Now, and did you also photograph a white hairbrush at that time?
Yes,
Okay. And did you seize that item?
I did.
You took it?
Yes,
Okay. And was that introduced and cataloged as evidence regarding the investigation in this case, sir?
yes, it was.
Okay, terrific. Now, on 12/4, okay, which was Wednesday now, okay, do you recall applying for a search and seizure warrant for the gray iPhone?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and just tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what did you do in regard to that search and seizure warrant?
Can you clarify the
Yeah,
question?
what steps did you take to get the search and seizure warrant?
I documented all the information that we had up until that point, including the information about where the iPhone was located, where it was seized from, and the information that may be contained therein, that was of evidentiary purposes for the investigation.
Sure.
And I submitted that with the co-affiant to be evaluated by the prosecutor and judge in order to get it signed and ultimately served.
Right, and both those were signed off by the state's attorney's office, correct?
Yes,
And then it went to Judge Pearson, I think was the judge, is that correct?
if that's what it says on the document, I would imagine there.
Okay. A judge, it went to a judge, and it gave you lawful authority to go in and seize the phone at that point, correct?
It gave us lawful authority to search the phone at that time.
Yes, seize and search the phone, I agree, okay. All right, thank you. So that was the 4th. There also appears, sir, to be some contact on the 4th for a search and seizure warrant for Verizon for Christine Holloway's phone. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and tell us what you did in that regard.
Same information sought, call detail records for Christine Holloway's phone through the carrier Verizon for subscriber information, location information, as well as several other factors that would give us information as to the location, condition, status of the phone.
And now, for purposes of interaction with Verizon, you now had an executed search and seizure warrant from a judge of the Superior Court, correct?
Yes,
Right? Okay, it wasn't the emergent circumstances where you didn't have the warrant previously. Now you had the warrant and you advised them that you had a warrant.
that is correct.
Okay, great. And then I'm going to stick on the 4th, if you wouldn't mind, which is Wednesday. Did you also go through the same exercise for the Morales T-Mobile phone?
I don't recall the date, but I did.
Okay. May I approach the witness? Would your report help refresh your recollection?
It would, thank you.
Sure. Take your time.
Thank you. My recollection is refreshed.
Okay. Did we go through the same exercise with T-Mobile on the Morales phone?
Would you need this back, sir?
I'll take it back, yeah.
I did.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Two different carriers, Verizon and T-Mobile, correct?
That is correct.
Right, so you wanted to get the records for the Christine Holloway phone and the Morales phone. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to call your attention to the 9th, okay? Monday the 9th, the following week, okay? Do you recall preparing a request for analysis for the Connecticut State Police?
Could you be more specific?
Sure. Do you recall completing a DESPP request for analysis?
To be fair, I completed many of those, so I
Would it
just
help-
want to make sure what document I'm talking to.
Would it help if I showed you your police report?
That would, thank you.
May I approach, Your Honor? Thank you. Take your time.
My recollection is refreshed. I have to go.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Do you recall completing the request, the DSS request for analysis?
I do.
Okay. And that was for various items, was it not?
Yes, it was.
And just tell the jury in your own in your own words, sir, when you make an application for forensic analysis, where does it go? Who does it? Who requests it? What's the process?
So the general process, as I know it, is the evidence itself is taken from our secure evidence storage, and then it is transported by our evidence officer or another designated officer to the lab, where then the specific request that we're asking for is carried out.
Okay, and who was the specific request directed to in this case for this analysis?
That would be whoever handles those specific items.
In the Connecticut State Police or the lab?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And you don't ask a specific individual to go ahead and do the analysis, correct?
I do not.
Yeah, you just made the application. Okay, now, let's stay on Monday, 12/9. Did you start to do an analysis in regard to where the Holloway phone was located at that point?
Yes, I had.
Okay. And you had the data at that point, and I know that you were working with the FBI. I understand that, and the CAST report is in evidence. You were shown the CAST report. Did you have an opportunity to go ahead and try to track the Holloway phone at that time?
I did.
Okay. May I just grab an exhibit, please? You have the, what exhibit number? No, not that one, the map.
Jackie has
What
it.
number was that, Pete?
I think it was double A.
Okay. Can you double A, please?
I have no objection to that, Your Honor.
All right, court will accept into evidence. Counsel, what is the marking?
Your Honor, this is double A.
Okay, double
Defendant's double A.
A on behalf of the defense. It appears to be a photograph. No objection. Thank you.
You want to put that up there? Detective, just give me 1 second. We're going to put what's been marked as defense double A up on the board, and try not to get anyone seasick. Detective, can you see that on the screen okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. You prepared this map that's been marked as a full exhibit, double A, excuse me, by the defense, did you not?
I did.
Okay, and I want you to just tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what that cluster of red markings up in the Naugatuck area are.
That is a cluster of markings that was taken from the location information throughout the exigent circumstance and also the search warrant information provided by, you're speaking directly to Red, correct?
Yes.
Provided by the cell phone carrier as far as the location of Christine Holloway's phone.
All right. And you recall, sir, at what time the tracking information showed that cluster of hits up in the Naugatuck area? What date and time, if you recall?
I do recall, but if I could use my report to refresh my recollection, it would be helpful.
Okay. Well, would it help to refresh your recollection with your report?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Let's get to the last page, okay? 24, 24, okay. Here we go. Okay, we're gonna put this one up next, okay? Just hold on to that. What exhibit is that? 161.
Thank you.
Does that help refresh your recollection?
It does. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, so just tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, when you prepared this diagram here showing the red dots up in the Naugatuck area, what date and time frame was that?
That started on December 2nd in the morning hours. Again, would have to refresh my recollection with my report for specific time. But that was eventually carried through the day on 12/2.
Oh, okay. Do you need your police report back?
No, thank
Okay.
you.
So that was Monday, 12/2. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're right. Okay. And just tell us, on Monday, 12/2, Christine Holloway's phone was tracked from what time to what time?
Well, it started with my exigent circumstances request. That was occurring at about 2 to 2:30 in the morning throughout the remainder of remainder of that time before the phone died.
Okay. Just what hours? I'm sorry. We're talking about Monday, 12/2. What hours did the tracking indicate that this Christine Holloway's cell phone was hitting the towers in the Naugatuck area?
I understand your question, sir, but it is fairly technical. If I could refer back to my report for times.
Absolutely. Sure.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let me ask the question again.
Okay.
Did you refresh your recollection with your report?
I did.
Okay, and just tell ladies and gentlemen of the jury what time frame we're talking about that the Holloway cell phone was interacting or transmitting with the cell towers in the Naugatuck area.
Okay, that would be between 2:15 and 2:31. However, what we're looking at here is not an accurate representation of those small periods of time.
Okay. What does that, exhibit, what does it reflect?
All the time prior to 12/2.
Okay. You saw the cast report, did you not?
I have not had an opportunity to review the cast report.
Okay. Mr. Mestry, could you put on, I think that is exhibit, that is, excuse me. Peter, what number is that? I'm sorry?
161.
Your Honor, just for reference, we're putting up, which is a full exhibit, the cast report, which is exhibit 161. Okay. Have you seen that diagram before regarding the analysis? This is a full exhibit. Have you seen this diagram before regarding the analysis of the Holloway phone, also showing transaction history in the area of Naugatuck, Connecticut?
Yes.
Okay, and that is, the cast report and your report are consistent in that they show the Holloway phone interacting with cell towers in the Naugatuck area through various times. I know you didn't author that report, but both of them are consistent that it was that there was activity between the Holloway cell phone and the cell towers in Naugatuck. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. You can give those to Jackie. Thank you, Peter. Okay. I'm gonna just go through finish up the activity here, and you stop me at any time if you need to refer to your report, okay?
Thank you.
All right? So it looks like then, also on Monday, 12/9, there was a third warrant applied for and granted for 6.5 Myrtle. Is that correct?
You're showing the date is 12/9?
Yes, sir. Would you like to see your report?
I would,
Approach, Ryan?
please.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that refresh your recollection, sir?
It does.
Okay. And that was the third warrant for 6.5 Myrtle, was it not?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And just tell us what you did. You actually went to 6.5 Myrtle and took some photographs. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what else did you do?
I see certain items of evidentiary interest throughout the time at 6.5 Myrtle Avenue.
Okay. And that's because you had the third warrant to go and lawfully enter into 6.5 Myrtle and search and seize items that you thought had evidentiary significance.
Correct.
Okay? And what would you have done with those items after you seized them?
Packaged them, sealed them, and eventually placed them in the evidence room.
Great. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next day, which is Tuesday, December 10th, okay? Did you, sir, at that time also complete a search and seizure warrant application for the iCloud backup associated with the Apple iPhone?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you applied for permission to go ahead and obtain that information?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, and that was granted, was it not?
Yes, it was.
And just tell us in your own words, how did you obtain that information?
Which information specifically are you asking about, sir?
You wanted to get information regarding the Morales cell phone as well as the Holloway cell phone, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and just tell us what you did and what happened as a consequence of that.
Can I refer to my report?
Oh, sure, absolutely. May I approach
That's
you?
fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Detective, calling your attention to the search warrant for the Tuesday, 12/10 for the email addresses. What did you do in regard to the application, and did you receive any information for your investigation?
Yes, so as you could see in my report, there are numerous email addresses that I researched and sought to each individual company, whether it be Google, Apple for iCloud, so on and so forth. If there was any information that was of evidentiary purposes for our case, there were some that didn't provide any actual records back, but same process is followed with my previous search warrants in checking with those companies to see if there was anything of investigative interest.
Great. So you received information regarding the email addresses at that point, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to move forward here. Do you recall also the following day on the 13th, which was Friday, did you go through the same exercise for voicemails, get lawful authority to go ahead? Would you like to review your report?
Yes,
or
I
do you
recall. No, I do recall.
Yeah, you recall it, okay? And that was to obtain the voicemails from the phones, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and what was the importance of the voicemails?
The voicemails may have information contained in them that would further be evidence of the crime that we're investigating.
And did you obtain that information from the providers?
Yes, I did.
Okay, for your analysis and investigation?
Correct.
Okay, great. I'm going to go on to Saturday now, which was the 14th. Do you recall authoring a report regarding the sealing dates of the applicable warrants?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and why did you go ahead and write that report, sir?
That was to keep track of when each warrant was signed, as well as how long the period was, believed to be 14 days, if I recall correctly, for each individual warrant to when the warrant would be released.
Okay. Sir, on the 18th, did you have an opportunity to go ahead and review some past text messages? I'll withdraw the question. It's really, I'll withdraw the question. Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. All right. On December 18th, it looks like, did you have an opportunity to analyze the T-Mobile data from Jose Morales' cell phone 203-809-2849?
Which date are you speaking about, sir?
This was December 18th.
Which specific data from T-Mobile?
I'm sorry.
Can you
regarding
clarify the
Morales'
question?
phone?
I understand you're asking about his phone. I'm just asking you to clarify which data you're asking me about.
The report indicates 12/18 that you analyzed the T-Mobile data and from Jose Morales' cell phone. Did you do that at some point? I'm not concerned with the date.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. And then did you also, sir, have an opportunity to go ahead and review messages from the iPad with the green cover that you identified previously?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you went through that analysis, correct?
I did.
And then we go into January, and it looks like you had additional information at your disposal at that point, and you had done a Christine Holloway phone location analysis. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then a couple of weeks later, you also, and just to call your attention, this would have been January 31st, 2020. Did you also do a similar analysis on Jose Morales' black LG phone?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just 1 second, Your Honor. And sir, do you recall back in February 27, 2020, do you recall tracking information regarding text messages between an individual named Hector Rodriguez and Jose Morales?
I do not recall.
Okay, may I approach, Your Honor? Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you recall undergoing that exercise?
Yes.
Just tell ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in regard to the investigation regarding the death of Christine Holloway, what was the significance of the text messages between Jose Morales and Hector Rodriguez?
I'm going to object and make call for a hearsay response.
All right, let me just ask the jury to step out for a moment, and I'll hear that because you're claiming it, you're objecting. I'm going to ask the jury to step out for a brief moment. We'll be right back. All right, I asked the jury to step out because I know I believe that this was the subject to an earlier motion in limine. So I think it's going there, but I'm not sure. So, counsel, your objection?
Obviously, I can't read the detective's mind, but
Well, the question was regarding the importance of the text to the investigation.
right, and my concern is that it may elicit a hearsay response with regards to what either Mr. Morales told Mr. Rodriguez or vice versa.
Okay.
It's hearsay, it's not admissible.
Okay, Attorney Gavin?
I'm not asking to solicit any hearsay response. I'm just asking part of the team that was part of this investigation what the significance was in reviewing the text messages between Morales and Rodriguez.
All right, so for purposes of this answer, I will instruct the witness that if I allow you to answer, sir, please do not state to us what other persons stated. All right, so if you can answer the question without doing that, then that's fine. If you're unable to answer the question doing that, please tell me now.
In terms of anybody, Your Honor? Like,
Regard-
not to mention anybody within
What was the relevant, why don't we see how it plays out?
Okay.
What was the relevant importance, I believe, was the question of the text to the investigation regarding the death of Christine Holloway.
Yes, Your Honor. It was to investigate to see if there was any information within those text messages that gave us more information to investigate or other information to follow.
Okay? There's no hearsay in that.
It's fine.
And then I would just follow up and say, what information did you find in your analysis of the text messages?
And I think that would call for a
Not-
hearsay response.
I don't think so. I'm not asking what any, I don't, shoot, withdraw. I don't believe that this gentleman ever spoke with Mr. Rodriguez or spoke with Mr. Morales, so it's not a hearsay objection. I just want to know what the result of his analysis was.
Okay, so there was an analysis conducted?
Yes, it's
All
in
right,
this
so far all I have is he does the search warrant. I understand the relevance of the search warrant. And then, are you looking for the results of the search warrant at this point?
Your Honor, if I may just grab my report here. It's just in regard to this officer's investigation regarding outgoing text messages between Rodriguez and Morales and what that showed. Not in regard to what anyone said to him or anything along those lines, because I don't think he ever spoke with anyone. Or there's no indication that he spoke with anyone.
All right, so your concern is?
Well, what it showed is there was communication between this individual by the name of Hector Rodriguez and
Okay.
Mr. Morales.
Okay.
Outside of that, to tell us what the text messages said is hearsay.
Okay, so I don't have a problem with if it shows there was communication, but we can't discuss the statements. Okay, so you understand, sir, that these questions are going to be asked before the jury. A statement that someone else made outside this court for the truth of the matter is hearsay. That's not allowed. So the state is trying to ward off in your response that type of answer where you're talking about what someone else who's not here testifying stated. I don't believe these questions lead to that type of answer. The state was worried that it did. The way that they were presented by counsel does not lead me to believe that that calls for an answer that would include hearsay. So I am going to go ahead and allow the questions to proceed the way that they've been presented relative to the proffer on the objection outside the presence of the jury. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
All right. We'll bring the jury back in. So for those reasons, the objection is overruled.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Stipulate to the presence.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. Detective, just last questions here. Am I correct that you never interviewed Mr. Morales at any time?
That is correct.
Yeah. And individual by the name of Hector Rodriguez from New Haven, am I correct that you didn't interview that individual as well?
I did not.
Okay. Do you recall authoring a report back in February 27, 2020, and I can show it to you, regarding your analysis of the text messages between Hector Rodriguez and Jose Morales?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And do you need to see the report? If not, no? Okay.
No, thank
so you recall doing that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And what was the evidentiary or investigatory significance of going ahead and analyzing those messages?
We're analyzing those messages to see if there was any other information or investigative leads to follow in this case.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know that was a lot of reports we went through. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect, Attorney
No, Your
Joseph?
Honor, thank you.
All right, sir, you may step out of the witness box. Thank you. You're all set.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Counsel, this is a good time to adjourn for the day.
We could.
Yeah, because we won't get through the witness.
All right.
The rest of direct and cross-examination.
That is
by
correct.
the end of the day, and it's already 17 after 4.
That's correct.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are going to adjourn for the day. Thank you for your patience with the continued process. Also, please leave your notepads behind, and we will see you back tomorrow morning, same time at 9:30 for the continued evidence in this matter. Okay, thank you so much. Please remember the instructions that I've previously given to you and your obligations under your oath. Thank you. Have a good evening. Madam Clerk.